Yesterday's Punk Thunder Dragon deck wasn't the only version of the deck we were testing out, and this is the secondary version, the Bystial Thunder Dragons, which is not only more popular as far as I can see in terms of more successful lists on the Master Duel Meta website, but is definitely more fun and gives you access to a lot more sort of resources than what you would expect. I'm playing it in quite a different fashion to what many people are on the website. I'm playing it a little bit more heavy into synchros rather than playing a full sort of link package. But I absolutely had a blast. Every single card in the deck has seen play. Every single card has been used and activated. So I'm more than happy with how this turned out, and it was an absolute blast. Got us up to Master 3, which is pretty decent. And so this deck's just really fun. It is a little bit more expensive. If you already have the Punk cards, the other deck may be a little bit more affordable to you. Primarily because of Batteryman Solar. I really didn't like crafting this card for this deck. But initially, in older Thunder Dragon builds, I didn't really like this card. I think it was super overrated. But now, with the release of Chaos Angel is so much easier to access with Batteryman Solar at your disposal alongside your wide range of Bystial cards. So that alone was enough to push me to craft the Solar, which is the main difference, right? The Solar becomes your normal summon over the Punk cards. We're also playing some really cool and interesting options like the Quick Draw Synchron as an additional tuning target and a whole bunch of other things that are an absolute blast to play. So if you're interested, what we're going to be doing in this video is going over a couple of games. The first game was a particularly nasty game, and was actually playing against one of our members in the Discord, like one of our YouTube members. So if you want to join as a member here, you can of course go down to the join button if you have the desire and resource to show that little bit of extra support. And of course, if you do join as a member, hop into the Discord, because that's where we're going to be getting the full experience. You can hop in again against games against me. That's not exclusive to members, by the way. Anyone can hop in the Discord, and anyone at any time can catch me on a voice call if I happen to be on one, which happens a lot. And we can, play games. Either sit, we can talk about the game, talk about whatever, play against each other. It's a lot of fun. So if you're interested, you can join the Discord. Of course, if that's not really your style, you can still show support by subscribing to the channel and liking the video if you do actually enjoy watching and you do want to see more of this, where this comes from. We do new videos every single day, either a video or a live stream. So if you want to see more, feel free to hop on and catch it. Just catch it when it goes up. It's the best. So anyways, we've got some replays. Deck profile at the end, we're going to go through it card for card, fully detailed breakdown, talking about each of the cards we're playing and why we're playing them and their uses. Very sort of detailed breakdowns for those who are interested in that sort of thing. And without any further ado, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty, now again, for context, this was a match against one of our YouTube members and one of our more prominent Discord members, Grim, in the Discord. So big shout out to Grim, not only for joining in, but having a blast with me alongside in one of our voice calls, being the co-author essentially of our Sprite Tri-Brigade video that we did a little while ago. This guy, we were sort of learning to play new decks. We're playing Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk, which at this time had just won a Meta Weekly, which is a very powerful and meta-relevant deck then, and we were testing it out against the Bystial Thunder Dragons, which this was also my first game using this deck. So this is a very interesting one. Let's get into it and let's break it down as it goes. We win the coin toss, so we do get to go first. We're going to start with Bystial Lubellion, which is going to get hit with DD Crow immediately. Now, if we were smart, we would have used one of our Bystials and we would have banished the Lubellion before he got the chance to, but we decided not to. Or no, sorry, we couldn't have, because he didn't control any monsters. I actually made that exact same comment during the duel, and I was just as stupid as then as I am now, apparently. We do get to grab the Magnomet, though. Magnomet, we are going to summon banishing the opponent's DD Crow, so it's not really a massive difference. We are going to tribute off the we tribute off the Magnomet to normal summon Thunder Dragon Roar. We then discard the Thunder Dragon Dark from hand to meet the Colossus for meet the summoning requirements for summoning Colossus. Bringing out Colossus, which is pretty dope. Again, very unorthodox way of going around it, but it worked. And we also get the special Thunder Dragon Roar from deck off of Roar's effect, which is a level 6. So we're going to use a Bystial Saronir, bringing it out, exceed summoning into Wallow, which is a decent enough card here. We're going to grab another Bystial. So we've got two Bystials. We've got the Colossus Lockdown, which is huge. We also have Wallow. Wallow is going to allow us to basically banish cards from our opponent's graveyard, or even steal them from the graveyard and summon them to our field, while also pervading our entire board with a 100 attack and defense boost for every card in the opponent's grave. So we finna get big. Into the draw phase for our opponent here. They're going to open up Imperm onto Colossus, because of course you do. Why wouldn't you? Fire Formation Tinky, going to grab then the Fractal from the deck. You can see here how big Colossus would have been if it was allowed to stay active. He would not have been able to use any of these effects, but unfortunately our opponent is getting free reign. They are going to go into the kit here. We're going to use Drissworm, trying to banish the Thunder Dragon Dark from the grave to summon it. They go Cult by the Grave to stop that summon. We're going to go Baldrake to still banish the Thunder Dragon, so while we don't get to summon Drissworm, we do get to summon the Baldrake, and our Thunder Dragon Dark is not negated by the Cult by the Grave. And that was pretty important because our plan was to have this Baldrake here in order to react to any extra deck summon that our opponent would make by tributing off the Colossus. It is now negated, it's not a ton of value, and we can recycle it back super easily off of Thunder Dragon Fusion. So having the Baldrake being able to banish an extra deck monster from our opponent was definitely a key part of our strategy. So now they're going to banish 3. Lo and behold, they go into Simorgh, which is actually, not only is this card immune to targeting, also all of the winged beasts it points to are also immune from targeting, so the Baldrake's effect doesn't actually even take place, which is pretty annoying. But they aren't leaving themselves a lot of resources, unfortunately. They're going to go in the Ferrigite, and at this stage, they have to pass. They didn't have a lot left to work with. We do have the Wallow here. Wallow is going to remove some of the resources from the graveyard, but the Simorgh does get to summon the Apex Avian directly from their deck. However, look at our board. We're at 29, 3k, 31. We are huge, we are large and in charge, and the Colossus is back online. Into the battle phase. Before he gets a chance to negate anything, we are going to take out the Avian, the Ferrigite, as well as the Simorgh, getting bigger and bigger with every card we dispose of. We're going to go for Chaos Space in main phase 2, dropping the Thunder Dragon Dark. We're going to grab the Bystial Lubellion. Bystial Lubellion then using its effect, we're going to drop it to grab ourselves a Saronir. Saronir now going to banish the Thunder Dragon Roar from the graveyard to summon itself. Roar then going to trigger to summon a Thunder Dragon Dark. Now we're going to tribute Saronir, summoning out the Lubellion. That is going to trigger the Saronir to send Branded Regain from the deck to the graveyard, as well as setting up a Branded Beast onto our field. We're going to go in the IP Mask Arena just to open up room. We had too many monsters. Grabbing a Thunder Dragon Hawk from the deck off of Dark before Chaos Space banishes itself, allowing us to draw an additional card. And we drew a tuning, crazy card to draw, grabbing an Assault Synchron, sending an Ash to Grave, whatever. We're going to go for Thunder Dragon Hawk here. This is where it gets silly, right? Do not try this at home. You're not going to get an Endborn like this in your own experimentation. This was absolutely insane. We get to bring back Chaos Angel again, using these two to go into a Sprite Elf. Sprite Elf then is going to use its effect. We're going to use the Assault Synchron going into this, so we can now go into Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel having both of its effects active. We get to banish his Tinky, which was a bad idea because it was turning off Evenly Matched and Lightning Storm and stuff, so we should have left it there, but, you know, BM. And it's also got both of its effects active. It's got Light from the Bystial Lubellion, so all of our Synchro monsters are unaffected by activated monster effects, and none of our monsters can be destroyed by battle thanks to its secondary Dark effect. We're going to go Thunder Dragon Fusion. We're going to shuffle back 3 cards. This isn't very smart. What we definitely should have done here is we definitely should have summoned the Drissworm to this spot so that we could make sure our Branded Beast was live. But, you know, Thunder Dragon Titan was cooler, and he's big. He's 4k. Ending turn, we're going to go Branded Beast, bringing back Regain so we can grant additional advantage to ourselves as the game goes on. But there is not a mission in hell that anything that our opponent could possibly do here will result in anything less than game. And unfortunately, Tinky not able to search for anything because of Colossus. And just like that, GG's. I mean, that speaks for itself, right? That board is absolutely insane. Really fun game there. We had a lot of back and forth games. Grim using his Tri-Brigades in a variety of different decks to very great effect. So very well played to our friend there. And not only this game, but in the plethora of games that we played during that little voice call. So I absolutely do appreciate it, my friend. It was nice playing with you. But yes, we got some decks, some gameplay from Ranked here as well. We were playing in Master 4 and 3 when we got promoted, essentially. So let's get into some Ranked games. Already getting into our first Ranked game here. A very versatile hand we've got. Now, the thing about this hand is I can't remember. I'm pretty sure at this stage we had Quick Draw Synchron in here. I'm pretty certain we did. And it's hands like these are exactly why I added Quick Draw Synchron. And you're going to see the utility it presents in just a moment. But we are, unironically, playing against Tri-Brigade again. Tri-Brigade Sprite this time, though, I'm pretty sure. Tri-Brigade Sprite is going to see a massive surge in popularity thanks to the upcoming hits to Sprite. Yep, there's the Sprite Red. Luckily, we do have our opponent under Maxi, so that they're not able to go too crazy, which is good. But Tri-Brigade Sprite is definitely going to become one of the next top tier strategies, and is likely going to be one of the coping mechanisms used by Sprite to get over the loss of the one copy of Swap Frog, as well as the loss of one of their jets. Because this deck has a ton of plays and extenders and routes to play around with that completely exclude those cards, meaning the hits basically don't affect your deck at all, which is pretty dope, actually. And we've been playing around with it in the Discord a good bit. They summon out a couple of negates here and interruptions. Even in so few summons, they only summon twice. They give us a pot of greed, sure, but they actually managed to put up 2 interruptions, and that's not counting anything that might be in their hand. They got a monster negate and a bounce here, so that's pretty decent. We do draw into the Bystial Rebellion. Bystial Rebellion going to grab us another Bystial from the deck, but they are going to go for Sprite Red to negate that effect, which is very interesting. I guess they don't want us to play around with Bystials. Luckily for us, though, we do have a Baldrake in hand. We are going to go for tuning here, grabbing the Quick Draw Synchron, going to mill a Maxi, that's totally fine. We can use Quick Draw, dropping the Roar. That'll happen very fast. Quick Draw Synchron can basically special summon itself out to the field by dropping a card from your hand. Now, the catch is that you can only use it in a Synchro summon for a Synchro monster that specifically names a Synchron tuner as material. It cannot be used in Synchro material for any other type of monster. We don't care about that. We're just going to link it off. This card was designed and made before link summoning. Why is this card not an SR or a UR? This card is nuts, especially as a backup tuning target. That's why we're playing it. We already have Assault Synchron in hand. Why would we want 2 Assault Synchrons? So having a backup option with the Quick Draw, being able to drop things like your Thunder Dragon Roar and Dark and these other cards that you would rather have in your graveyard to the graveyard where they belong, is a massive boon, especially considering it's a free summon. So that is insane. We're going to bring out the Thunder Dragon Dark here. Ancient Warrior is going to activate the bounce the White Dragon Wyvern Burster. Very, very smart. You can't special summon this card through its own effect more than once per turn, and it can only be summoned through its own effect. So he is essentially shutting down an entire 2-card striker line through that one move. But we've already got the Roar, the Dark. We've already got the Quick Draw Synchron. So we're in a really sort of winning position here. They do grab the Crash. We're going to use these 2. We're going to go into Cross Shape, our most generic Link monster. This card is incredible in any Thunder Dragon deck. We're going to go for a Hawk here, summoning out the Banished Roar. We're going to go Assault Synchron, summoning Assault Synchron using these 2 and a Synchro Summon for the Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. We're going to go for the Chaotic Magical Dragon, milling the top cards of our deck. We're going to grab a Light or a Dark monster among them. On this occasion, we choose to grab a Saronir. Batteryman Solar and Headsight likely would have been a slightly better option, but both are phenomenal options. So it doesn't really matter too much. We do get to go Saronir to drop the Regained, so we can now go for the Bystial Rebellion, bringing it out to the field. We're going to go for Saronir, banishing the Solar to summon itself. Bystial Rebellion, setting up Branded Base, that's an interruption, and it'll recycle our card at the end of the turn. Sprite Elf going to bring back the Assault Synchron from the graveyard. Synchro Summon into Baron de Fleur. And just like that, we're now going to use Baron de Fleur, pop the Sprite Red because it's in defense. Chaos Ruler, banishing 2, bringing itself back. That's pretty, this is just nuts, my guy. We're going to go for Baldrake, banishing the Saronir, summoning itself. Now I'm going to use Branded Beast to tribute the Chaos Ruler to pop the remaining monster, so Assault Synchron will activate, banishing itself to bring back the Chaos Ruler again for the 3rd time this turn it's being summoned. Going to tribute off Elf, going into the Thunder Dragon Colossus, because don't forget, Elf is a Thunder monster. Do not forget about that. That is very important. Going in for lethal, 26 for game. There you go. Showing off, again, just the myriad of ways in which this deck can completely fuck your opponent over. I love the fact that this deck doesn't have a combo route. That is one of the most refreshing things about this deck, because you're just playing the game. Your opponent doesn't know your choke points. Your opponent doesn't know what cards you're going to play next. Your opponent doesn't know what's in your deck. They can't predict what your face downs are. It's just a lot of fun, and it's significantly less. Obviously, there are, known choke points. There are known powerful negates. But they're not going to look at your first card, and they're not going to know exactly what your whole turn is. Because in a lot of cases, especially in the higher ranks of Master Duel, for those of us who are maybe more experienced players, normally when your opponent plays their first card, we can already predict, okay, this is how his entire turn is going to go. I can quote you, card for card, how this turn is going to happen. Can't do that with this deck, which I love. But anyway, I'm not going to ramble. Let's get into Game 3. Alrighty, Game 3 here, and a pretty interesting hand. We do see the Batteryman Solar and the Allure of Darkness. Allure drawing 2, banishing 1. Banishing the Thunder Dragon Dark is a very solid option because we do get to grab our Hawk off of that banish. Now we're going to go for Chaos Base. Chaos Base dropping the remaining Dark in our hand to grab ourselves the White Dragon Wyvern Burster. You can also grab the Bystial Lubellion at this stage, the Bystial Lubellion being a very powerful option as well. At the time, I sort of valued the extension of the White Dragon Wyvern Burster, although in hindsight, likely I would have gone for Lubellion. But either way, we're going to send Roar to the graveyard here. This might actually, yeah, no, this is exactly why I went for Wyvern Burster, actually. I'm stupid, never mind. I'm interrupting my own turns as if I'm not the one playing the game. White Dragon Wyvern Burster, we can use Solar to send Roar to grave, and then we can banish the Roar off the Wyvern Burster. Obviously, summoning a Roar from deck, we're going to use Solar to summon out a token now. That's super, super useful. Now we go into Chaos Angel. We've got Chaos Angel up before anything else, which means that any synchro monsters that we do manage to summon for the rest of the turn are unaffected by our opponent's activated monster effects. No Effect Failure, no Ash Blossom, no nothing. You can't use them. Our monsters are unaffected. So that's very good. We're going to go into Cross Sheep now using our remaining cards. White Dragon Wyvern Burster, going to grab the Black Dragon from the deck. We're going to go Thunder Dragon Hawk here, discarding it to resummon the banished Roar to the field. Now we're going to tribute off the Roar to go into Colossus underneath a Cross Sheep zone. So that's going to trigger the Cross Sheep to bring back the Batteryman Solar. Going into Collapsement, banishing a card so we can shuffle that card back into the deck off of our Chaos Space to draw one, drawing in the Call by the Grave. Using these two now to go into IP Masquerena, we're going to use IP and Cross Sheep in a Link Summon after we grab the Wyvern Burster to go into our Mekhnate Crusadia Avramax. And this is a pretty menacing board. We have the Maxi. We have Call by the Grave. We have Chaos Angel, which is unaffected by our opponent's activated monster effects, and he protects our entire field from being destroyed by battle. We have Mekhnate Crusadia Avramax, which says that no card on our field can be targeted by attacks but this guy, and if he does manage to battle an opponent's monster, he gains attack points equal to their attack points, as well as being untargetable and indestructible. And lastly, we have Colossus. Colossus, of course, cannot be destroyed by battle thanks to Angel. It cannot be destroyed by card effects because of its own effect, which will protect it by banishing Thunders from grave. And while it's face up, our opponent cannot add cards from their main deck to their hand through any effects other than drawing. So this is pretty damn solid. We even have Wyvern Burster and Thunder Dragon Fusion for follow-up. We go Maxi. Our opponent is under Maxi, which is good. We're playing against Tearlaments. Now this, of course, is a top tier deck that we no longer need to worry about by the time you're watching this video because the new ban list will have gone live. But at the time of recording, Tearlaments was tier 1 and rampant as ever. Everybody knows how powerful this deck was. Definitely the best deck that Master Duel had ever seen. So let's see if we can't crush it. They're going to go for the Tearlament Scream here. Tearlament Scream is going to allow them to mill 3 cards off the top of their deck, as well as Herald being able to send a card from their deck to the graveyard. They're going to mill 3, milling the Kelbeck, as well as sending in a Geto, which is of course banned at the time of you viewing this. Kelbeck, which is limited to 1, of course they're able to play 2 in this particular version. Siren Net as well activating in the graveyard. Now we're going to hold off on that maximum, on that Call by the Grave. Just for now, we're going to get the draw card off the Kikalo summon. They're going to get milling 5 cards from the top of each player's deck. They're going to trigger off a Havness and a Reinhardt that they just milled, as well as the Kikalos that they're now activating. We're going to go for Call by the Grave, targeting the Havness. The reason we're targeting the Havness is because basically he will have to shuffle it out of his graveyard in order to protect the card from being banished, which means it's either going back into the deck or it's being banished for a snow. If we were to use this against most of our card effects, that means that our negation will be avoided and largely won't happen. But with a Havness, a Merle, or a Siren, the difference there is that those cards themselves need to be sent from the graveyard back to the deck as part of the effect. So if they're no longer there, then their effects won't resolve. And I don't care why they're no longer there. If it's my Call by the Grave or their own card doing it, I don't care, as long as it isn't there. So Call by the Grave forces them to use the kill load to shuffle back the Havness, otherwise it will be negated. So Havness is no longer in the graveyard, meaning its effect will no longer resolve. Again, I don't care that my Call by the Grave didn't do it, as long as it's out of there, I don't give a shit. They're sending Meta Noise from deck to graveyard, interestingly enough, summoning out a Reinhardt by sending Merle from hand to graveyard, and Havness then, of course, fizzling without effect. They're going to send another Siren from deck to grave. Kikalos then targeting itself to send it to the graveyard to summon the Merle. We are continuing to draw cards as our opponent thinks they can combo away at us. We're going to go Ash Blossom into the Merle here. Largely, this Maxi doesn't matter. We don't play like any hand traps other than Ash Blossom. So, like, that Ash Blossom is the only benefit that we're going to reap off of the Maxi. Of course, unless we draw into like a Bystial, but the vast majority of our Bystials are already in the graveyard. So yeah, that's not happening anytime soon, but they are going to steal our IP Masquerena. Of course, anybody who knows IP Masquerena knows that it cannot be used as material for Avramax if it's summoned from the graveyard, because this requires monster summon from the extra deck, so they must be up to something. They're now going to use Fairy Tale Snow, banishing 7 cards from the graveyard to summon Snow out to the field. And just like that, they're going to use Snow's effect, flipping our Colossus face down, before Link summoning into Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, getting rid of our Chaos Angel by using it as material for a summon, which it cannot protect itself from. Very unfortunate, because now the Underworld Goddess negates all face-up monsters on the field without targeting, meaning our Crusadia is also being not only negated by the Underworld Goddess, but also weakened by Scream. But unfortunately, our opponent is unable to put themselves in a position to get rid of our Thunder Dragon Colossus. We're going to shuffle back that Scream, so I don't need to deal with it next turn, but apparently they just have to. Fair enough. But yeah, passing turn back to us, they did let us draw approximately 4 million cards, so I can't imagine this going very well for our opponent, and I think they click onto that quite quickly. We are going to go for tuning here. We're going to grab an Assault Synchron, milling a Saronir. They're going to go for Meta Noise to try and get rid of our Colossus, but an Ash Blossom will make quick work of that Meta Noise. We really don't need to be dealing with that right now. I would rather keep the Colossus on the field. We're going to go for Lubellion here, dropping Lubellion to grab ourselves a Baldric. Using Baldric, we're going to target the Cacalus in the graveyard, banishing it to summon itself out to the field. Scream going to mill 3. Unfortunately, they can get anything usable. Bringing out Solar, bringing out Lubellion. Lubellion then grabbing from our deck the Branded Regained, Assault Synchron, summoning itself out to the field, and it is at this stage when we summon the Stardust Warrior. Stardust Charge Warrior would allow us to draw a card, as well as acting as an additional extender into something like a Wallow, which was our intention, because of course this card's actually kind of big. It's kind of big, man, it's kind of big. So my intention was to use the Charge Warrior to go into a Wallow, which will boost our monster's attack points all by 1100, putting us in a position where we could get over the Goddess quite easily, but our opponent decided they had had enough. There you go, able to beat even tier 1 tier limits. Sure, they were under Max C, but the only real advantage we gained with the Max C during their turn was an Ash Blossom, so I'm willing to accept that trade. We didn't draw into any of our Bystials because the vast majority of them were already in the graveyard from their mill 10, so yeah, you tell me. But either way, let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty, so I know in those replays we did use Max C to a great extent, and I know not everybody likes me showing replays where Max C is in effect. However, it is a massive part of the game, both for and against you. It is definitely going to be a card you need to play, absolutely. And I wanted to show replays where the deck actually got to do all of its stuff. And a lot of the other replays, our opponent either scoops too quickly, or they put us in a position where we can't play the game, or something ridiculous, right? Where it's not very entertaining, it's not very fun to watch. Those are the best replays of the ones that we did that actually showed off what the deck does in a way that isn't boring. So those are the ones we picked. So if you're upset that Max C was in use in the majority of them duels, then I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. I'm sure you'll recover. It'll be fine. So starting off, talking about interruptions, we're not playing that many because we have quite a lot of engine we want to play here. We are playing triple Max C, triple Ash Blossom, double Call By, single Crossout. Anti-Max C package, every single deck that is remotely interested in summoning cards. We are running, of course, a lot of Bystials, which is why I'm comfortable running a 9 package. Normally, I would look at a 9 flex spot deck and think to myself, that's a little not great. I would normally try to find a little bit more room. 9 is the bare minimum because I need to be able to negate Max C as effectively as possible. But the deck also plays a shitload of Bystials, which at the time of recording is a very powerful strategy to have because, of course, the best deck right now is Tier Limits. By the time you're watching this, Tier Limits may have died off a little bit thanks to the rather significant hits it received on the ban list, but other decks such as Dragon Link or any other dark strategies like Blackwings, we don't really know yet what's going to try and take the place or what's going to rise up in place of Tier Limits, but there are definitely going to be some dark decks involved, most notably, of course, being Dragon Link. So do expect the Bystials to maybe not have quite the same game-winning effect or meta-destroying effect as they have had up until this point, but you can expect them to still be relevant. And regardless of your opponent playing lights or darks, you, of course, yourself like your own cards to get banished from the graveyard. So it's not like playing a Bystial package in another deck where you're only playing at the counter Tier Limits. In this deck, it is actually part of your core engine, and you really do want to be banishing your own cards from the graveyard. So we are playing quite a lot of cards in that can interrupt your opponent. 9 base hand traps. You also then have these 6 Bystials, so you can count that up to 15. Right? Do what you want. Or don't. I don't care. So, like before, we're going to take it one package at a time. The Synchron package. A little bit different than last time. We are running 3 tuning, which allows us to add a Synchron tuner from deck to hand, but there were too many situations where I was opening Assault Synchron in a hand where I didn't particularly like it, or in a hand where I was unable to summon a Thunder Dragon to use as an on-tuner, or I was drawing multiple of them in the one hand, which is even more painful. So I decided what I'm going to do is make the usage of tuning a little bit more versatile. I'm going to play 1 Assault Synchron, so we still have it, it's still searchable and still usable, and we're going to play Quick Draw Synchron. This is a card that I haven't played since pre-Hulk Zombies. That's the last time I played this card. When Christian Hack-of-Fibrax was legal, I would use this tuning package, except this will be a Jet Synchron, not an Assault Synchron. We would use this basically exact tuning package to go into Christian Hulk in a zombie deck to do all sorts of crazy shenanigans. It's making a comeback in this deck because not only Quick Draw do we want to be able to use it to link summon into the likes of Cross Shape, IP, whatever. We have lots of generic uses for the card. The fact that it's a discard for a special summon means that you can put Thunder Dragon Dark, Thunder Dragon Roar, your Lebellion, whatever it is, into your graveyard so you can fully utilize that card and unbrick certain hands. So Quick Draw Synchron has unironically been amazing. I haven't seen it in a situation in which it wasn't useful. I've yet to have a hand where it's dead. So Quick Draw Synchron I'm absolutely in love with. I pick this over Assault Synchron a lot of the time. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do pick this over Assault Synchron a lot of the time. Assault Synchron is a phenomenal card to have though, don't get me wrong. Not only is it very easy to search for and extremely powerful in certain hands, it is of course also a dark target to be hit off a Chaos Ruler, so there is that to bear in mind as well. But definitely the 1, 1, and 3 package is what I'm going for in this deck. It has been amazing. Into our Chaos package, we're running 3 Chaos Space and the 2 Chaos Twins, White Dragon and Black Dragon. Chaos Space allows you to basically send a light or a dark monster from your deck, from your hand to the graveyard, to then add a light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set between the levels of 4 and 8, with the opposite attribute from your deck to your hand. Which is basically a fancy way of saying you can drop a light or a dark monster to grab either a Chaos Twin or Lebellion of the opposite attribute. So if you drop a dark, you can grab the White Dragon or Lebellion. If you drop a light, you can grab the Black Dragon Collapsible. It's that easy. It does also have a second effect where you can banish this card from the graveyard to target a light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set that is currently banished. You shuffle that card back into the deck, and then you draw 1. That could of course be any of your fusions or synchro monsters. It could be your Bystial Lebellion, but more commonly, it is your Chaos Twins. What will normally happen with this card, you're going to of course use it, you're going to search for one of these 2 twins. The way these work is that you summon one by banishing the opposing attribute. So you're going to banish, let's say, for the White Dragon, you're going to banish a dark monster, like Dark or Roar, from your graveyard to summon this out to the field. Then when this card leaves the field, you get to search your deck for the Black Dragon Collapsible, which of course can be summoned under the same conditions, banishing a light. Well, now you have a light in the grave. You're a Wyverburster. You're going to banish the Wyverburster to summon a Black Dragon. Well, now you have a banished light monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. So you can use Chaos Space to shuffle this card back into the deck to draw 1, and then when your Black Dragon then leaves the field, well, you can add back to your hand the Wyverburster that you just shuffled into your deck. So it's a way of looping cards back into your hand to make sure that your card advantage is not diminishing as you're making plays. So it is definitely very impactful. You could get away with not playing these guys if you really wanted to play more hand traps. Realistically, you could maybe drop the 3 Chaos Space and 2 Chaos Twins if you were more in favor of like playing a couple of Imperms or something. But I definitely feel like the impact that these guys can have on certain games is more than worth it. You have your Batteryman Solar, which is sort of a standalone card. This card, when normal summoned or special summoned, you can send a Thunder monster from deck to graveyard, so just Foolish Burial's one of your Thunders, which is great. Also, if a Thunder monster is special summoned or normal summoned while this card is on the field, you get to summon out a Batteryman token. The token is very useful for your link summoning. Both IP and the Cross Shape, as well as even your Sprite Elf, can all use it as material so long as the other conditions, other monsters also match the condition, which they should. But yeah, the Batteryman Solar token is super useful in the link summoning aspect of the deck, and the fact that it mills one of your Thunders is also super useful because then it can be banished off of a Bystial, it can be banished off of a Chaos Twin, or, you know, there's a whole range of things you can do with it from that point on. Another very useful aspect of the card is that its level and attribute are very relevant. It is a level 4 light monster. The reason that's relevant is your Bystials are all level 6 dark monsters. And we're going to skip ahead and talk about a card called Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel is a card that can be synchro summoned without using a tuner, so long as the monsters you're using are both light or dark. So because this is a light and this is a dark, you no longer need a tuner, and you can basically summon out your Chaos Angel using any of your Bystials alongside Batteryman Solar. You can achieve a similar thing by using Bystial Lebellion and Assault Synchron, but this guy is a tuner, so whatever. But yeah, you can use Bystial Lebellion and Assault Synchron, or your Batteryman Solar and one of your Saronir. This card is absolutely incredible because when it's summoned using a mixture of light and dark monsters, not only are all of your synchro monsters immune to your opponent's activated monster effects, they are also immune to all of your monsters become immune to battle destruction. So this card is a massively important card in terms of protecting your whole field, especially during your opponent's turn, and it even banishes a card in the field upon being summoned. So if you're going second, it still has that little bit of utility, as well as having 3,500 attack points. So Chaos Angel is definitely a card worth summoning, and Batteryman Solar makes it that much easier with its typing its level and attribute, as well as it also being a Thunder monster to satisfy the conditions of Colossus, and pitching your Thunder Dragons from deck to grave. Everything about this card is just really good right now. Initially, before Chaos Angel, I was very hesitant to craft this card. It was good, don't get me wrong, but I didn't see enough value in the card to craft it. However, if you're a Thunder Dragon fan or fanatic like myself, with the introduction of course, the Bystials and the Chaos Angel, crafting Batteryman Solar has become more and more relevant, and now it finally sort of tipped me over the edge where I really wanted to craft it for that particular purpose, and I have not been disappointed. This card is incredible. Let's talk about the Thunder Dragon cards next. So we've got Triple Dark, One Hawk, Double Roar, as well as Thunder Dragon Fusion, Gold Sarcophagus, and I will also lump Allure of Darkness into this category. So all of these guys, if you watched yesterday's video, I go into all of these in a lot of detail. I'm going to give the Cliff Notes version in this video, so if you want a full detailed breakdown of each of the Thunder Dragon cards, check the previous video. But basically, Thunder Dragon Dark can discard itself to add another Dark to hand as a quick effect. It can search your deck for a Thunder Dragon card whenever it's banished or sent from field to graveyard. Thunder Dragon Hawk can discard itself to special summon back a Thunder Dragon from the banish pile or graveyard, or if it's banished and sent from field to grave, you mulligan your hand or as many cards as you want out of it. Thunder Dragon Roar, you can discard this to add a Thunder Dragon card from your graveyard or banish pile back to the hand, and you can also, whenever this card is banished or sent from field to graveyard, special summon a Thunder Dragon monster from the deck to the field, but it's bounced back to your hand during the end phase. All of those are, of course, really powerful effects, and they work in a circle and a triangle that not only did you see it in the gameplay, I also went into this in quite a lot of detail in our last video, so you'll see a little placard up above for that video as well. Plus, there'll be an end screen notification on it. We've also got Gold Sark, which allows you to banish Roar or Dark directly from the deck to trigger their effects, just like that, right away. It's also a little bit of a cheat code in the Chaos space if you feel like a cheeky draw 1 is more valuable than these effects, or if you've already used those effects. That is something that you can do in a pinch, but it doesn't come up very often. We have Allure of Darkness, which allows you to draw 2 cards so long as you banish a dark monster from your hand afterwards, which is an incredible drawing tool, especially considering a lot of the cards in your deck are dark, but more specifically the Thunder Dragon Dark and Thunder Dragon Roar, when they're banished, will of course get their effects. So Allure will not only allow you to draw 2, but will also allow you to utilize the effects of your Dark or Roar. Most of your most powerful hands will begin with you activating Allure of Darkness and banishing either a Roar or a Dark. Those are most of your most powerful games will open up that way. And Thunder Dragon Fusion will shuffle back from your field, banish pile, and graveyard monsters necessary for a Thunder Fusion monster, like your Titan. And you can also banish this card from your graveyard to search your deck for a Fusion monster. A Thunder monster. We cover all of those cards in significantly more detail in yesterday's video, but for people who watched that video, I don't want to sit and repeat myself and bore all of you, so we're just going to leave that to yesterday's vid. The Bystials as well, very similar situation. They all summon themselves out to the field by banishing a light or dark. They all have their own effects as well, which I covered in the previous video, so if you missed that, absolutely go back and watch it. I just don't want to bore the people who have watched both. So absolutely, catch the wee placard and check out that video as well. But again, most people know what the Bystials do. It doesn't take a genius to work out their synergy here, where you can banish your Thunder Dragons from grave in order to summon them, get your Thunder Dragon effects, put some dark level 6s on board, and start comboing like crazy. The Bystial Lubellion is the addition to this deck that is not in the previous. We were not playing Lubellion in the last deck. It was just a little bit bricky. In this deck, however, 3 Lubellion is virtually mandatory. You can get away with 2, but if you're playing 2, you must play the Chaos Space engine. So Bystial Lubellion, you can activate this card in hand to discard it to grab yourself any Bystial monster from the deck, of course excluding itself, which is quick and easy access to the likes of your Magnomet or your Drissworm, which are the 2 primary search targets. Magnomet mainly, because Magnomet will search you another dragon upon its being summoned, so it just gives you the most possible advantage. Lubellion can also tribute a level 6 or higher Dark Dragon on your field to special summon itself from the hand or graveyard, so it is an inherent summon out to the field as well. Being a light level 8 gives it a lot of diversity within the deck, working alongside the likes of your Assault Synchron, so that is very important. It can also activate a branded continuous spell or trap card directly from your deck to the field. Normally we're going to utilize that with the Branded Beast, which of course we weren't using in the last video either. Branded Beast is a very powerful card that will basically, so long as you control the Bystial, allow you to once per turn tribute a dragon to pop a card your opponent controls. It can also, during the end phase, target another branded continuous spell or trap that's in the grave and place it face up onto your field. The one we're choosing to play is Branded Regained. We'll typically send this card to the graveyard off of our Bystial Saronir, specifically so that our Branded Beast can play it back to the field from the grave. This card, if a light or dark monster is banished, you can target one of those monsters, shuffle it back into the deck, or sorry, place it on bottom of the deck, and then you get to draw a card. Now that applies to both your cards and your opponent's cards. So if you banish an opponent's monster to summon a Bystial, well, you get to then shuffle that card back into their deck and then draw one, which is awesome. You can also, if your opponent summons a monster, you can bring a Bystial monster back from your graveyard. So you can resummon the likes of a Magnomet to get researching, resummon a Drissworm to continue to interrupt their board. So you can get a lot of value out of Branded Regained, and it's one of those cards that helps maintain your hand size, that helps maintain your board state, that helps maintain your life points. This card is basically like a maintenance card that makes sure that you're not left behind, especially in a longer game. This card by itself makes it very difficult for your opponent to beat you in a grind game, because they not only need to get rid of this, they also need to get rid of Branded Beast. Otherwise, it's just going to come back. So definitely one of the more useful cards in the grind game against many opponents, although they typically don't reach the grind game, because between a Colossus and all of these other crazy boss monsters, you've normally beaten them by then. And that is pretty much the whole deck. Yeah, that's the whole deck. The deck is not rigid. It is not linear. That is the biggest difference between this deck and the Punk deck, is the Punk deck has a combo. Sure, the combo drops you off halfway through your turn, and then you get to sort of play creatively. This deck is based entirely upon the principle of creative play. In no way, shape, or form is this deck formulated for you to execute or activate your cards in a particular order. The entire idea is to give you as much flexibility and versatility to apply and utilize the deck in as creative a manner as necessary to secure the win. Now that is the entire idea. You want to use all of these generic resources, generic and powerful resources, in such a manner to construct a board perfectly suited to defeating your opponent. It's pretty straightforward. The Bystial cards interrupt, Thunder Dragons get searching, and then you're basically locking them down using a range of very, very powerful extra deck monsters. And something that this deck has that I notice a lot of other decks don't have is protection from your opponent's board breakers. So Chaos Angel having this built-in protection, Sprite Elf protecting your cards, Colossus with the protection. A lot of these cards are also protecting themselves. This deck excels in a long game or in a simplified game state where you're relying upon a sort of top deck situation, because you're vastly limiting your opponent's ability to generate additional resources through your Colossus. You're increasing your likelihood of recurring resources thanks to your Branded Regained, thanks to your Bystials, thanks to your Magnomet, thanks to your Thunder Dragons. All of these cards will continually net you resources. You will continually be able to loot things like your Branded Fusion for your Titan plays. You'll always have a powerful boss monster to summon that is immune to destruction, which excels in a simplified game state. And that's the entire idea. You want to break the game down in chunks. You want to shut down your opponent's avenues for play until the game is very simple and linear. And in that format, you will absolutely crush your opponent. So that's why you're essentially trying to put up a pretty complicated board. You're trying to put up all of these things. You're breaking down your opponent's avenues for play into a simplified game state so you can absolutely dominate. Getting into the extra deck, again, a lot of these cards we covered in the previous video. Of course, the Singular Colossus and Double Titan as per the last video. Chaos Ruler is just as important in this deck as it was in the last one, except you're not using it every single game. The only real way of getting into this card is directly through an Assault Synchron, which normally you're going to get access to with like a Lobelion play or your tuning. So I can definitely see an argument for playing more copies of Assault Synchron for that purpose specifically, but it's not really something we struggle too much with. But I could definitely support an argument that says we need to play 2. I wouldn't cut any cards for it, but I would play the deck at 44 to play an additional Assault Synchron. I don't mind playing more cards in this deck because, again, the entire point of the deck is that all of the cards are as impactful as they can possibly be alongside one another. So having more cards in the deck is not necessarily a bad thing. It does make you more susceptible to Max C though, because the more cards you have, the less likely you are to draw one of your 6 answers. So that's the only thing I would say that's maybe bad about playing more cards than necessary. But that decision ultimately is up to you, right? You can do whatever you want with that information. So we got the Colossus, Titans, we've got Chaos Ruler, of course. We have the Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon, exact same as last video. Barone, Cheng Ying, Chaos Angel, exact same as last video. IP Masquerina, Cross Sheep, Sprite Elf, Mech Crusadia, all the same as last video. The video will be above. I'll put another card here if you want to go and see that one, but it will be showing at the end of the video as well if you want to catch it. We are going to talk about the differences though, and there are a couple of cards different. They're primarily toolbox cards though. So number 1 is the Stardust Charge Warrior. Stardust Charge Warrior was here as a level 6 addition to the deck, playing to the possibility of having just a Chaos Twin or a Batteryman Solar plus an Assault Synchron. Not a situation that happens a lot, but it is definitely possible. So we wanted to play a card that would allow us to compensate for such a situation, which was Stardust Charge Warrior. This card's only notable features are its level, as well as its draw 1 effect on summon. When you summon it, you draw 1. Neat. Okay, you get to draw a card. Awesome. And its level is the other notable factor, because in those types of situations, if you also have access to a Bystial card in hand, you can now banish one of the cards that you just sent to the graveyard to summon out the Bystial, and use the Bystial and your now level 6 Stardust Charge Warrior to go into the next monster we're about to talk about, Wallow, the founder of the Drudge Dragons. This card is actually pretty metal. I love this card. Its art is phenomenal, and I don't get to use it nearly as much as I think I should. I love this card. Basically, similar-ish to Cheng Ying, it provides your entire field with a 100 attack and defense boost for every card in your opponent's graveyard. That's very interesting. So basically, your whole board, as you saw in Game 1, gets absolutely massive when you're playing this card. You also get very vital graveyard disruption. So you can target a card in your opponent's graveyard. You can either A, return it to the deck by detaching 1 material, or 2, summon it to your field if you detach 2 materials. Or if it's a spell or trap, you can set it to your field, which is awesome, right? So you can steal, like that back row is, the detach 2 effect is significantly more impactful with spells and traps rather than monsters. Because in most cases, stealing a monster, the absolute most you're going to be doing with that is like disrupting a potential like revival or a graveyard effect or whatever, which you could do just as well using the first effect. But the second effect, being able to steal a Super Poly, Dark Ruler No More, Triple Tactics Talent, steal all of those cards from your opponent's graveyard and give you access to them, especially the spell cards like the Triple Tactics Talents and things like that, because you can use those right away. That is mental. So that is definitely something you're going to want to bear in mind with this card. Again, not something we have a ton of examples of, because we're normally quite good at going through our standard level 8s and 10s. The level 6 plays are more so if we don't have the greatest hand in the world, or we find ourselves in a position where it is particularly effective, or if we have already resolved all of our other effects. So you saw in Game 1 how we were in a rough-ish position, but Wallow was able to bring back a lot of those resources by giving us quite a large field, as well as additional disruption, where maybe we wouldn't otherwise have had any. And the last card is the toolbox card, Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon is here exclusively because you're playing the Chaos Twins. Like I mentioned, their whole synergy and combo and everything, and the Striker Dragon just makes it that little bit more accessible. Striker Dragon, of course, can be summoned using any level 4 or lower dragon. So you summon one of your twins, link it off from the Striker Dragon to immediately trigger its effect, search for the other twin, which you can then summon, and then do the whole Chaos Space to shuffle back and draw one. Now you've got 2 effect monsters on board, and you have it normal summoned. So you can use these 2 to go into like a cross shape, or you can go into whatever. Just use them for whatever you want. But it's basically an effective way of putting 2 monsters on the board at once without you actually having used your normal summon. Which you'll typically, again, use your normal summon almost exclusively in Batteryman Solar, but if you absolutely must, you can also tribute summon the likes of a Thunder Dragon Dark in a pinch, which we have done more than once. Tribute summon the Dark and Roar. In certain situations, tribute summoning these guys is key and will win you games, because you're able to use that particular strategy alongside your Bystials very effectively to go into a wallow, or you can then link the cards off to trigger their effects, blah blah blah. Being able to tribute summon your Thunder Dragons is low-key actually super important, right? It sounds dumb, but it's true. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You will win games if you bear in mind that you can just tribute summon them and then link them off to trigger off all of their effects. So just remember that, and the Chaos Twins and the Striker Dragon help a lot with that in particular. So that is the full deck. Again, more detailed explanations on a lot of the Thunder Dragon cards and extra decks will be in our previous video, which will be linked above. So if you're new to the channel, of course you can subscribe to catch new videos as they're coming out. You can like the video and catch one of these videos here. Above me, you're going to see the Punk Thunder Dragon video. To that side of me, you're going to be seeing another video, probably the Punk Cash, a very successful deck. Catch one of those videos as well, and I'll see you there. Bye-bye now.